All right. Yo, what is good? Elite young boy. Braxton was good. What is good? Fortnite is Epic, and Epic is USA, right? Epic is US company. Everybody stop buying V-Bucks. Do not support this game. Do not support this game. I repeat. If you would like to stand up for Canada and stand up for all these places being bullied by the United States, do not support America and do not buy V-Bucks, because V-Bucks, if you buy V-Bucks, you're supporting an American company to succeed, and when American companies succeed, Trump succeeds, and when Trump succeeds, bad things will happen. The world cannot bend over backwards for Trump. There's a lot of the world already banding together to not support America and no longer buy American goods. Not just Canada, but like other places too. It's like a movement. I'd like for everybody to join that movement. Don't buy American. If you're gonna purchase something, try to purchase something that'll boost your own economy. Buy something local, you know? If you're gonna buy food from the grocery stores, buy local. Support your own economy. Don't give that money to the US. Because when you buy stuff from a US company and that money goes to the US, that money's leaving your economy and it's going to the US's economy. Yeah, it's hard to tell what's what's American and what's not American nowadays. But Canada's going pretty far with this. Like, we're putting labels on all the things that are Canadian just so people know what they should buy, if that makes sense. You're a baddie. Oh, thank you. Why, thank you. I'm gonna read the comments on, or some of the comments on this. We need to still get out of this toxic relationship with the US, start selling our products elsewhere, stop shopping at Walmart, it's a US company, just secure our borders, we all need that anyway. Bro, that's not gonna do nothing, bro. He's just putting a pause on the tariffs. We have a plan to put like $1 billion+ at that border, plus like 10,000 like people at the border to make sure that there's like, you know, border security. Bro, all these economies are probably just gonna freaking topple. I sure hope not. Fix capitalism first? Capitalism is one of the main issues in my opinion. Capitalism is just a fancy word for greed. It's just a fancy word for greed. Capitalism and the monopoly system, they go hand in hand. Own everything, control the price, make people pay. You know, I'll explain capitalism in the most dumbed down version ever so anyone can understand. You buy a house. You sell that house and then you sell it for enough to buy two houses. Now you have two houses. You sell those houses. You have 4 houses. Then you have 8 houses, 16 houses. Eventually you own all the houses, and then you get to choose how much houses cost. Because if you own the most houses, you get to choose how much they cost. Now that's just one example. That happens with gold. There's a reason that gold costs a certain amount. There's a reason diamonds cost a certain amount, and there's a reason oil costs how much it costs. Because if you have the surplus, if you have the most, you get to tell people how much they have to pay for it. Whose comments are you reading? I was just reading some comments from one of these global news videos from a couple hours ago. I'm also reading Gamira's Raisa? Gamiris? We need to overthrow the oligarchs. I don't 100% disagree with that statement. It's a classic case of divide and conquer. What's funny is the governments are made to work for the people, and they kind of do the opposite. They work for the businesses. The rules that are written for these businesses to succeed and for the people to pay. And the people pay so these businesses can succeed. I feel like Trump might be on the path to dictatorship. That might be a far stretch to say, and I hate saying stuff like that because, you know, it might just label me as far right or far left, but it's just one of my takes. You know, if his power is left unchecked, then I feel like it's going to have very negative consequences for not only the world but the American population as well. in America. Trump is already a dictator. Not quite yet. Not quite yet. Because currently, right now, there's only 4 years left of Trump, and Trump will never be able to be president again because of the way that that system works. Unless he changes the system. Because you can only be a president for 8 years, I believe. 2 terms. I believe. I'm not an American, so I'm not 100% sure how that works over there, but I'm pretty sure that's what I remember hearing and being taught. So 8 years, this is going to be his last 4 years, unless he changes that. For it to be a dictatorship, no one would be able to take that power away from him. Like in Russia, how nobody can really, like, oppose against Putin. He would also have to make it a one-party system where no one would be able to run against him. U.S. presidents have 2 terms? Yeah, that's what I thought. 4 years each. Yeah, unless he changes that. If he changes that and then on top of that makes it to where he has no opposition, then it would become a dictatorship. Or at least from what I believe the definition of dictatorship to be. He has a cult? I mean, seems sort of like that. I could see that. I could respect that opinion. Doesn't mean I fully agree with the opinion, but I could respect how you see that and respect that opinion. Chat, I've already said that I'll stop buying from Fortnite I am gonna get the next season's battle pass, but that's already with my pre-existing V-Bucks that I already got. Like, I've already got these V-Bucks in my account that I've had for a while. I just used the V-Bucks from the battle pass to get the next battle pass. So technically I'm not spending like any extra dollars on V-Bucks anymore. Haven't done that in like a year, actually, at least. Around a year. It's been a while. Yeah, I was just telling chat before you joined, actually, to stop buying from Fortnite. Promoting against it.
But we need to build a strong two nations, not fight each other.
Why does that seem like auto-tuned? It seemed off. Shouldn't be in the news section if it's not real.
Bottles of Kentucky bourbon and Tennessee whiskey are whisked from BC store shelves days before the U.S. tariffs hit.
It's sad. It's a sad state. Our two countries rely on each other. Our economies were interlinked after generations of building together. And it's sad to see that we're here today.
Manitoba liquor marts will pull American products by Tuesday.
This means that we are going to be taking $80 million out of the U.S. economy.
In Ontario, the LCBO is scrubbing American products from its catalog. American distillers say bans in multiple provinces will affect more than $1 billion in cross-border booze trade.
In the Canadian and the American distilled spirits industry has thrived together without tariffs and without trade barriers. You need to muscle through this. It's going to hurt, but hopefully cooler heads will prevail with our government.
Some economists warn fighting the U.S. tariffs tit for tat is a losing battle.
And for the mouse to attack the two-ton elephant and say we're going to get in there and beat them up and knock the mouse, the two-ton elephant out, it's just preposterous. And so we're going to lose.
This Vancouver bar manager says they'll be making old fashions in a new way, substituting BC spirits for American ones.
It feels kind of like we're caught in a schoolyard fight and a little childish and disappointing, and hoping that this kind of gets resolved quickly.
For provinces still stocking U.S. alcohol when tariffs kick in on Tuesday, expect those prices to climb. Yvette Brent, CBC News, Vancouver.
Bruh.
Whether you need prototype parts in one day or
I don't need prototypes.
What has become a defining moment for our country.
Go sweat mode.
Call this a groundswell, and many are saying they are enjoying watching people
It's
in our
squads.
country come together. Canadians in massive numbers are highlighting their level
I'm gonna
of
get
frustration,
cloud.
patriotism, and national pride.
It's nice to see Canadians, give a punch back. nice to even see Justin Trudeau give a little punch back.
For some, it's music to their ears.
I think so. I hear people talk about how they want to stand up for Canada and be strong.
Others have adopted a buy local strategy as a pushback against the U.S. president.
I pick up. Okay, if that tomato sauce has been the U.S., I'm going to lay it back on the shelf.
Some Canadian sports fans went the extra step of moving
I'm pretty close to
the
the
national anthem in several cities.
Boo.
I loved it. They did it in Vancouver. They did it at the Ottawa game. They did it in Toronto Raptors, and I think it's super cool. Just to show them, like, hey, we're your closest allies, and it just shows them we're here and we're gonna fight back.
To suggest booing the Star-Spangled Banner represents the majority opinion of Canadians might be a stretch, but it's a loud statement that has generated a lot of attention, and those living south of the border have taken notice.
Whether this is representative of all Canadians, I would be hesitant to say so. It's not just the 17,000 people or whatever who are at the game, right? It's instantly on social media, news outlets pick it up, it travels across the world.
Historically speaking, one could argue Canadians have always had a strong sense of patriotism, but not in a loud and robust way. This surge in reaction over the past several days especially is something we are not used to seeing.
Tilted next game? Alright, alright.
This account really is giving high earnings. So sign up today to earn high interest on your savings with EQ Bank.
Tilted Towers.
Will drive the cost of everything up. In other words, it'll be paid for by American consumers. I mean, why would you want to get in a fight with your allies over this?
That's the president's decision. I don't want to get ahead of him on that, but I will brief him on what I heard, and so he knows what they have done, what they said they will do.
Here's what Americans are going to see: higher prices for energy, higher prices for groceries.
We're now in a trade war with Mexico and Canada. For the American people, it'll now be a war between prices and their paychecks.
They have already
I'm a
been
boy.
taking advantage of America for decades. The retaliation is Donald Trump saying no more.
That's just a sampling of American politicians on airwaves over the weekend following the executive order that U.S. President Donald Trump signed Saturday that was to apply and launch a 25% across-the-board tariff to all Mexican and Canadian goods heading into the United States, save for Canadian energy, which would see a 10% tariff. It was all supposed to come into effect tomorrow, but almost at the 11th hour, after a second phone call today between Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and U.S. President Donald Trump, the Prime Minister put this on social media, writing that he just had a good call with the President, saying that Canada is implementing a $1.3 billion border plan, and that news had already been out.
He didn't want to be my friend.
He will increase resources to stop the flow of fentanyl. Nearly 10,000 frontline personnel, the Prime Minister wrote, are and will be working on protecting the border.
Waste of money.
He says, in addition, Canada is making new commitments to appoint a fentanyl czar, will list cartels as terrorists, ensure 24/7 eyes on the border,
taxpayer dollars.
force to combat organized crime, fentanyl, and money laundering, and says that he's also signed a new intelligence directive on organized crime and fentanyl to be backed up by $200 million in funding. The Post concludes by writing, proposed tariffs will be paused for at least 30 days while we work together. There's some reaction as well just being posted now by U.S. President Donald Trump on Truth Social. It's quite a lengthy post. I'm just going to go over the highlights. He says Canada has agreed to ensure we have a secure northern border and to finally end the deadly scourge of drugs like fentanyl that have been pouring into our country, killing hundreds of thousands of Americans while destroying their families and communities all across.
Let me just Google how much fentanyl goes from Canada to the States. How much is seized at the Canada-US border? £4,537. So under 5,000 pounds. Now what about Mexico? You know, they're getting the same amount of tariffs as us, 25%, the exact same, for, you know, the same issue. Bro, you can't even Google how much fentanyl is seized at the Mexico-US border because it just tells you how little Canada how little Canada is with that issue. Let me try to rewrite it differently. $9,930 kilograms of fentanyl. How much is that in pounds? Wait, how much was that again? 9930. 9930 kg in LBS. What? That can't be right. You're telling me that there's only 21,000 pounds. Wait, let me re-see that. Either way, from what I've been seeing, only 0.2% of the fentanyl that goes into US comes from Canada. But yet we get the same tariffs as Mexico, where 99.8% arguably would be coming from. Technically 100% of it is coming from China. If you think about all the things that, you know, it takes to create the things, it's being made in the labs down south in Mexico. And they get all the precursors and all that kind of stuff from Mexico, from, not from Mexico, but in Mexico from China. They ship it up. It's hard for me to believe that we have some rednecks up here cooking some fentanyl up in the Canadian wilderness. That's really hard for me to believe. But I've also heard that we have the cartels that have infiltrated up here too. So technically, it's not the Canadians that are bringing fentanyl down to the US. It's so I guess it's a good thing that we're cracking down on the cartels. But we're talking 0.2% of the issue comes from Canada. I'll tell you why they're putting this stress on our border right now is because of the deportations. Trump knows that our border with the US lacks security. So when all those illegal immigrants start to really feel threatened, both Canada and the US know that all those illegal immigrants and all those people that are undocumented and all those people, they're going to want to go where? North. They're just going to go up north, you know what I mean? And Canada-US border does not have the capacity to protect that kind of surge. And the fentanyl issue would end up becoming a Canada problem if, you know, if we had to deal with that kind of illegal immigrant problem. We already deal with an illegal immigrant problem up here in Canada, but it's not nearly comparable to the amount that the States deals with. But if, you know, if all those people come up to Canada, then Canada's gonna get shat on. We're basically adding all this border security, so then all these people that are gonna be deported have nowhere to run. All those illegal immigrants that Trump wants out of the country so badly. I'm not opposing you, by the way. I just didn't know that was the thing. Sorry, I didn't read those other comments. I was kind of just ranting and going on. Let me see what else you're saying. I don't get why Trump thinks it's a good idea to put tariffs on Canada, Mexico, China. Those aren't the only places that are being threatened with tariffs and that are being imposed by tariffs. There's a pretty large list. I'll Google that next. List of tariffs threatened by Trump. Okay, maybe I have to reword that. All Trump's tariffs. If I write threat, then it's just going to give me the stuff that's going on in Canada. See, it's only giving me the smaller list. I'm going down the rabbit hole over here. Well, the main three are going to be China, Mexico, and Canada, but there's more to that list. I'm just trying to find them. I know he threatened Colombia with tariffs. It's because this news keeps on adapting and changing to where these threats are becoming more they're taking like the top search results. It's one thing I don't love Google for. CNBC. So that's how you know it's real, right? Putin says Europe will stand at the feet of the master as Trump's tariffs alarm allies. Interesting. I could have swore I read somewhere that he was going to try to impose or threaten Russia with tariffs. But maybe that wasn't correct. No, it says right here, Trump threatens Russia, others with tariffs if Ukraine deal is not reached. It's a few different, yeah, even Forbes is saying that right here, saying Trump threatens Russia with high levels of tariffs and sanctions unless Putin ends Ukraine war. See, that's a bit more older news. That's why it's not popping up as recent, because we got all this other tariff news going on, so it's harder to find the older tariff news, even though it's like 2 weeks ago. Sorry, I was going through older comments. I'm not opposing you, by the way. I'm just... Oh yeah, where is the source that China is supplying Mexico to make fentanyl? Where is the source that China is? What do you mean, where is the source? Like, where do you find that information? That's just common information. The precursors, which is basically like the main ingredients, like the base ingredients to make most of the drugs that Mexico has made, historically is known to be to come from China. Like all the stuff that they get to make meth, all the stuff that they get to make fentanyl. My sources got to be like basically any documentary that I've ever watched and any source that I've ever read, basically. They all point towards China as the supply. Mexico is just the dealer, if you think about it like that. Well, technically, China is the supplier, Mexico's the cook, and then America's technically the dealer. Common information is another way to say trust me. Yeah, I mean, you could just Google it. Where does the precursors of fentanyl come from? Currently, China remains the primary source of fentanyl and fentanyl-related substances trafficked through the international mail and express consignment, consignment operations environment, as well as the main source for all fentanyl-related substances trafficked into the United States. What's the source right here? www.dea.gov. I think that's a trusted source, probably. But they only get the 10% tariffs, where Mexico and Canada get 25% tariffs, because Trump's main issue is the fentanyl and illegal immigrants flooding in. Canada is not even a whole percent when it comes to the illegal immigrants, not even a whole percent when it comes to the fentanyl that goes to the US. Mexico is basically 99.8% of both those things, and China is 100% of the fentanyl technically. But Trump has to technically step it up on Mexico because Mexico is letting this stuff happen and bringing this stuff in. They're not stopping it. So he has to do that. That's why they sent 10,000 troops to the border to increase border security to stop the flow of this stuff. Mexico being the one doing that. And they're doing this stuff to Canada too, not because of the actual threats that are here right now, because of the potential threats that will happen if we don't increase our border security up here. Because where are they going to go move all those labs? Canada. China would just, set up shop up here in Canada and get the cartels to move up here. That's what they would do. Unless we increase our border security, which is why he's putting this 25% tariff on Canada for a non-existent threat, because it's not that it's non-existent, it's just it's not there yet. Let me just reread that whole thing. Currently, China remains the primary source of fentanyl and fentanyl-related substances trafficked through international mail and express consignment operations environment, as well as the main source for as well as the main source for all fentanyl-related substances trafficked into the United States. So what that means is every single bit of fentanyl that goes to the US started in China. And I'm sure it's not just the DEA that's going to say that right here. Yeah, every source right here is agreeing to the same shifts right here. Play zero build ranked reload duos, please? Bro, why? Bro wants to stream snipe me. Bruh. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get a coffee. Alright. Guess who's back? Back again. XD's back. Tell a friend. Guess who's back? 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 Bing a bow now. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, Canada, our home and native land. Where's the default one? The one that I heard in school. No, this is Fortnite. I guess it's this one. It sounds like it's gonna be the French one though. It's gonna be the French one. Hatred, love. Oh, wow. Glowing hearts we see, they rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada. Yeah, I don't love the singer in this one. That's the one I think I remember from when I was actually younger. Before they took the God part out of it, they changed it up. They also have the French one. I like the French one too. The Fringlish. Fringlish version. Fringlish is like Spanglish, but with French instead of Spanish. Fringlish. We got our own words up here. Where's our squad? Oh yeah, it's duos. Who requested I play Zero Builds duos OG ranked? This might be the Fringlish version. Oh, Canada. I remember this one too, I think. Where it's more people than just one person singing. It sounds like the school version. One of them. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. See, we don't talking about bombs bursting in the air and stuff. That's America. You can hear the boos, but they're so faint. I think they gave that too much publicity. Oh wait, that's a big boo. Still, I don't feel like that was the majority of the crowd, though. I feel like they gave that too much publicity in the news and stuff, talking about how they be booing. It's like, okay, a couple people booed. It was not. But then again, it's been happening at more than just one game, though. Happening across Canada. But Trump cut a deal with with Justin today, which has got some Canadians happy about that. But it really doesn't fix things in the long run whatsoever. Trump just wants Canada. It's what he wants. He just wants Canada. At the end of the day, in the long run, that's all Trump is trying to achieve with all this, is he just wants Canada to be part of the States. Not because of how much Canada is going to benefit from that, from that, but because of how much America will benefit from that. Because if Canada becomes part of the States, I mean, bruh, at least China and Mexico and all these other places, they're not being threatened with wanting to take our land from us. We're being threatened with the same tariffs, worse tariffs than China, the same as Mexico. But we're also being threatened with the wanting of, of him wanting to take Canada. He wants Canada. There's really no beating around the bush. At the end of the day, he's made it very clear he wants Canada. It's no longer joking about like, oh, Canada should become part of the States, blah 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 blah. No, this is like he wants it. He thought about it. He's been thinking about it, and he wants it. It's on his agenda to make the States part of Canada. Oh, I'm gonna listen to somebody reacting to Trump. So I'm gonna react to a reaction of an action. I'm gonna react to a reaction that's reacting to an action. Just don't go and reenact this now, because then it would be reenacting a reaction reacting to an action. And then all of a sudden we'd have factions. I'm trying to think of more rhymes. Give me a second. Reacting to your reaction of the reaction of the action currently. No, I haven't reacted to the reaction of the action just yet, because I haven't clicked on the video for me to react of the reaction that reacts to the action. I like the name Adrian. It's a cool name. I don't know if that's your actual name or if that's just like the alias you're going by, but it's a cool name. I think some names are just cooler than others, and that's one of the cool ones. You know, you could be like Aiden, but Adrian just sounds cooler. You know what I mean? It's like, which one sounds cooler? Michael or Richard? You know what I mean? Like, there's just certain names that just sound cooler. Especially when a name becomes super generic, it becomes less enjoyable. I gave him a low taper babe. Oh, hit him with that low taper babe. He rotated? I mean, storm is coming, I don't blame them. Oh, there's a rift. Would you look at that? I see him. Butterfinger. That's American. It's either you stand with us or you're against us. Do not buy American. Do not support America. I made a bad decision with going with that sniper instead of going with the shotgun, or I should have just hit my shot instead of being dog water at this game. Oh well. Alright, let's react to this reaction.
This is the video where he talks about all the shit, so we're gonna get into it. Damn.
A very busy weekend.
Damn.
And we got the 6 hostages out of Venezuela, as you probably know. And they're very safe right now. They're home with their families.
Well, that's good.
We appreciate
that is a great thing.
I didn't even know that was happening.
Me neither.
We appreciate the cooperation from Venezuela. And we have some very happy people right now. Nobody thought that was going to happen. So they are home, they're safe, and they're with their family.
I'm currently reacting to a reaction, reacting to many actions. I'm reacting to a reaction that's reacting to many actions. You could call it a reaction. A reaction. A reaction. Yeah. Oh, shoot sticks, man. Specs is on. Specs is on. Can I pay that down? Can I pay that dog? Did he appear offline as soon as I invited him? No. Can I pay that dog?
That was a big one. Secretary of State Rubio is in Panama right now, and
Little Marco.
We're talking about the Panama Canal. What they've done is terrible. They violated the agreement. They're not allowed to violate the agreement.
Apparently, they came back to the table too. By the way, huge win with the Panama Canal. Officials announced that it will not be renewing its memorandum of understanding with China. There it is.
Is running the Panama Canal.
Yeah.
That was not given
it's
to
$3
China,
million per ship.
To Panama
I could see that adding up.
But they violated the agreement, and
yeah, I could definitely see that adding up.
Something very powerful is going to happen. And as far as other things are concerned, as you know, we had a very busy weekend. We're dealing with Israel. We're dealing with Ukraine and Russia. We have meetings and talks scheduled with various parties, including Ukraine and Russia. And I think those discussions are actually going pretty well. The discussions on the Middle East with Israel and various and sundry other countries are progressing. Bibi Netanyahu's coming on Tuesday. And I think we have some very big meetings scheduled.
I'm more absorbing than I am reacting. Oh, this is fresh, 5 minutes ago.
In every moment, there is a place where your dreams come to life and where memories are created.
Skip.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Some of the stories we have for you right now.
Why is this so distorted?
A last-minute, 30-day reprieve. Donald Trump agrees to extend the deadline for sweeping tariffs against Canada.
Canada is very tough. They're very, very tough to
It sounds fake.
business with.
But the anger and anxiety is still there for businesses and
Listen to
consumers
that.
on both sides of the border.
Let's had a very wild ride.
Taking stock of how Donald Trump's threat is affecting the markets and the embattled loonie.
It says CTV News with a verified tick, 1.8 mil subs.
A homegrown shopping guide on how and where to buy Canadian if it comes to it.
What is wrong with their audio?
For Canada and be strong.
That's super nice to see.
Plus how it's all leading to a surge in true patriot love.
CTV National News with Sandy Ronaldo.
Donald Trump was busy working the phones today talking to the leaders of Canada.
That's a robot. That's a robot. That's not a real person. That's a robot. They don't sound real. It could be the audio system malfunctioning, but they don't sound real. And looking at this person, they don't look like they have much of a soul.
reprieve, a 1-month extension on imposing those 25% tariffs after President Sheinbaum agreed to put thousands of troops
She's
on
a
the
robot.
border. Canada had to wait a bit longer and take a second phone call. That happened around 3 p.m. The Prime Minister and the President speaking for...
No, it's just the microphone probably
we
playing
got
up on
word
them.
of at least a 30-day reprieve with certain conditions.
But you're talking about a
in play.
huge news
Earlier today, I spoke with CTV's chief
station.
political correspondent, Vashi Kapellas, who gave us the details. Okay, Vashi, 30-day reprieve?
Maybe she just sounds like a robot.
That's the headline, Sandy. Breathe at least a month-long sigh of relief, the Prime Minister putting on X just moments ago. I just had a good call with President Trump. Canada is implementing
It's their
a
audio,
$1.3
because this
billion
other one sounds
border
like
plan,
robotic too.
reinforcing the border with new choppers, technology, and personnel.
They got some bad
Enhanced coordination with
audio.
our American partners and increased resources to stop the flow of fentanyl. Nearly 10,000 frontline personnel are and will be working on protecting the border. 10,000, also the number of troops that Mexico announced would be heading to their border. The statement goes on to say from the Prime Minister, Sandy,
this a
in addition,
replay?
and this is all new, Canada is making new commitments to appoint a fentanyl czar. We will list cartels as terrorists.
This is 12 minutes ago, but I've seen
eyes
this.
on the border. Launch a Canada-U.S. joint strike force to combat
And it wasn't
organized
distorted
crime,
the last time I
fentanyl, and
heard
money
it.
laundering. I have
That's weird.
I'm just wondering if during your discussions today the issues of pipelines came up and whether Quebec would now support either an Energy East or some other kind of pipeline that would take Alberta oil out to markets other than the U.S.
Yeah. Of course, right now, there's no social acceptability for this kind of project right now in Quebec. But, of course, the situation, the economy, and what Mr. Trump is doing may change the situation in the future. So if there's a social acceptability, we will be open to these kind of projects. But right now, there's no social acceptability. No.
Okay. Were you going to ask any questions? I was going to ask you, you mentioned in French the sword of Damocles that's sort of hanging over the head. So can you talk a little bit about some of the solutions you discussed? We talked about interprovincial trade in French, and that being an issue, maybe a solution to some of the problems of being so focused on the U.S.?
Yeah. What we of course, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. So even if there's no tariff tomorrow, still companies they are not. They don't want to invest before knowing exactly what would be the tariffs. So what do we do? Anyway, if there is or not some tariffs, we need to have diversification of markets. So it includes working better with other provinces, but also with Europe, with other countries than U.S. We have 71% of our exportation going to U.S. It's a lot too much. And we have also to increase our productivity, because right now my big fear is when you compare Canada to United States, there's something like 30% of difference for the productivity. So we really need to work, all of us in Canada, on our productivity.
Prochaine question. Premier, I just wanted to know your overall reaction when you got the news this afternoon that the tariffs are on hold.
Of course I was happy, because it gives us 30 days to have better programs, to make sure we speak with all important companies, with all sectors, that we can be more prepared. But for me, it's not a complete victory. For me, I still think that Mr. Trump wants to attack Canada. He said things during last weekend, like if it wasn't of United States, Canada wouldn't be a viable country. It's terrible to hear things like that. So we have to be ready to all kinds of scenarios with this guy.
And what about the Starlink
services to people in Quebec. And we have also a binding contract, so I don't want to end up having to pay for a large fees because we don't respect the contract. And I want also to keep services. So we are reviewing the starting contract and see what we can do. Ideally, we would like to get out of this contract, but we want to do that in a right way.
Just a few words on the Quebec Inc. The meeting that you had this afternoon. How was it?
But we're lucky to have this Quebec Inc. in Quebec. The National Bank, Desjardins, la Caisse de dépôt, Investissement Québec, Hydro-Québec. This is really part of the Quebec model. And when you speak to these people, they can take action. So it's not only the government who can react to Trump's action, but these guys also, they have a lot of assets, and it's fun. I was happy to see that they were ready to fight with us.
Prochaine question.
Can you confirm whether Quebec will be pausing its retaliatory measures against U.S. companies, like what's supposed to happen at Leadership? Yes, confirming that. So how will you spend the next 30 days then, and how does it change your maybe stay?
Okay, but like I said in French, I think we really
Bro, I hate this game.
to work on our productivity and diversify our markets.
How markets and the economy.
About sort of the world reaction, I have to ask you first for your own reaction to the news that just developed, the idea of this 30-day reprieve.
It's a lot to take in. That's a lot to take in. 30-day reprieve. So that means that after these 30 days that the tariffs are still going to be in place, and all the counter tariffs and countermeasures and this, that, and the other. So we're just pausing the trade war. It's going to happen still, but it's just paused for 30 days because, you know, Justin Trudeau and Donald Trump were all buddies and, you know, chatted it up on the phone and said, no. Let me just spend more of the Canadian tax-paying dollars first, mess up our own economy for you, and then you could mess it up even more. Because, you know, by then we'll be holding our elections. Oh, shoot. I don't even care about politics too much. All I care is that I stay Canadian. I don't want to be part of the States. The things Trump says just get, like, I don't know. He does a lot of great things though. For America specifically. He's done some good stuff, I want to say. But where there's good, there's bad. And where there's bad, there's good. Nobody cares about politics, I guess. That's my main take from trying to talk politics with my community. Nobody really cares too much. But I do have a younger audience, I guess, I suppose.
In order to be able to keep the economy flowing and humming and working. And all of us involved have a lot to say about how that works. So this fiction that somehow, you know, if you threaten annexation or something else, that makes any kind of sense.
Why can't I type in the game chat? Am I banned from that?
My Prime Minister is the leader of our country.
Self-promoing?
And that we have a sovereign country. And I think you've seen an incredible outpouring of determination on the part of Canadians to work together and to stop these threats. We have to keep on negotiating in good faith. I do think that the longer-term questions are going to be, how do we make sure that this economy works more effectively? And in that discussion, everybody's going to come to it. Americans, the Mexicans, the Canadians are going to come to it with a set of concerns and grievances. And people will bargain and negotiate, sometimes publicly, sometimes not. But we need to be aware that all the sovereign countries in this arrangement, Mexico, the United States, and Canada, have the ability to slow things down if that's what they choose to do. And when they do that, it causes a huge problem.
Facts.
And that, I think, is the reality of the situation. That's the underlying reality of our situation in Canada. And we're not without the means to respond, as we've demonstrated. And we're not without the means to, you make life difficult, we can do the same, we can make it this way or that way. We don't have to do this. We didn't ask for it. And if the president, says that this is the ongoing sort of Damocles over our heads, we just got to keep our mind focused on what Premier Moe talked about. And that is that the business community has something to say about this. And the National Association of Manufacturers in the United States, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, but equally important magazines, journals, financial opinion throughout the world looks at this and says this is not the way to go ahead.
Facts.
There's another way to do it, which is to keep on talking and negotiating and coming up with a solution.
Facts.
But we're playing with a very important instrument here.
Big chess game.
Yes, and I know your time is limited, so I just want to make sure I get one more question, and that is more largely about the reaction from our allies in particular, which, was not exactly overwhelming in the lead up to the imposition, the announcement on Saturday, but certainly we've had some, particularly in Canada here, Germany, I think, sticks out as countries that have, come to our defense in one way or the other. How do you think the process of the last 48 hours or the developments of the last 48 hours will ultimately play out among Canada's allies, now that they've seen kind of us come to the brink and sort of back, but with the floating of annexation, for example, with the use of tariffs as a blunt policy instrument? What do you think the reaction is going to be?
Well, first of all, the Russians and the Chinese are rubbing their hands, and everybody should know that. And they look at this with glee, and that should give everybody pause. As we talk about our security and talk about wanting to protect our security. The second thing is, I've had emails and messages from many of my colleagues here wishing us the best, and I respond to them by saying you never know who's next. So it's important for us to work together. And I think there's a much wider appreciation of the fact that this level of uncertainty is really not a good policy for the world, and that it might create a sense of excitement in some parts, and I'm sure it sells magazines and newspapers and social media and even, dare I say it, CTV. But it's very bad for the economy, and it's very bad for people's sense of security and decency. I think we should all be treating each other with respect. I think we should be treating each other with a respectful conversation, not with bluster and not with insults. And I think what the Prime Minister said the other day, I think had an impact and a resonance with people beyond Canada, well beyond Canada. And that is, Canada can hold its head up high. We are proud to be Canadians, and we are deserving of a civil conversation with our neighbor to the south.
Amen.
And that's the kind of conversation we want to have. But none of us should do that with any sense that we don't have the means to protect ourselves if we have to. And I think that's important for everybody to know. Don't mess with Canada.
Amen.
That's the right note to end it on. Ambassador Ray, I appreciate the time this evening. Thank you so much.
I'm fully committed to thrive in
Don't mess with Canada.
It's not what you make.
It's how you make it. Oh, who you make it with.
So now we're hearing that America is deferring the tariffs on Canada for 30 days, and Canada has committed
30
to
days,
putting thousands
woohoo.
of troops on the border. But let's back up a bit and see what dispute resolutions apply here if the tariffs are just reapplied in 30 days' time.
Exactly.
Our guest is Andrea Bjorklund, Professor of International Arbitration and International Commercial Law at McGill University. Thanks very much for coming on the show. without getting into this latest agreement that the two leaders have apparently reached, it's kind of surprising, isn't it, when you think we're supposed to have a free trade agreement with America, but Trump can just put on these tariffs unilaterally, it seems.
Yes, in fact, I was thinking about that as I was frantically listening to the news to see what the latest was. You could say the whole point of the USMCA and the NAFTA before it is to provide stability so people can make their plans going forward for some considerable period of time.
And isn't that, I mean, the economic uncertainty is genuinely damaging. I mean, a company might be very reluctant to put a factory in Canada or Mexico or the US unless they knew what the state of play would be.
Exactly, and they might be reluctant to enter into long-term sales contracts, long-term supply contracts, if they can't be sure what the price is going to be, what the real price is going to be.
So, what? But say these tariffs return in 30 days for the sake of argument. What recourse does Canada have?
Well, I'm afraid I don't think there's any recourse that is very good. I suppose in the first place, any recourse would take a certain period of time, and a lot of damage would be done in the interim, even if there were good recourse. But if we look at international tribunals, as I'm sure you know, the United States has successfully so far blocked the operation of the appellate body at the WTO. So that means that WTO dispute settlement is possible at the first tier, but a country that loses a case at the first tier, say hypothetically the United States, has a right to appeal that decision, but there's no place to appeal it, which means that first.
He let me die. That is funny. That is funny. He told me after the fact that there's people. That is hilarious.